As the noose was placed around Chidinma's neck, she cursed the one who had wronged her, vowing that her spirit would never forgive the village. Her last words echoed through the hearts of the onlookers. "I will never forgive this village for not hearing my plea." With that, Chidinma's life was tragically cut short. In Akan village, there lived a young woman named Chidinma. Known for her beauty and grace, Chidinma was beloved by all, except for one man, Obina, whose unreciprocated affection led to a dark conspiracy. Obina, a man of considerable charm but deceitful heart, coveted Chidinma as his wife. However, Chidinma had respectfully declined his advances, wishing to remain free of any suitors for the time being. This rejection wounded Obina's pride deeply, and from that wound sprang a vindictive plan that would shatter the peace of Akan. One fateful night, under the cloak of darkness, Obina executed his sinister plan. He stealthily entered the royal palace and stole the king's most prized possessions, the royal staff and the royal cap. These symbols of power and authority were sacred to the villagers and the king. Obina, with the help of Chidinma's unsuspecting friend, hid these items in Chidinma's room. The next morning, chaos ensued when the king discovered the theft. Overwhelmed with distress, he announced to his people that the royal staff and cap were missing. The village oracle decreed that if these items were not recovered within 2 market days, the king would be banished from the village for failing to safeguard the divine symbols. In his desperation, Obina suggested to the king in secrecy that a thorough search of every household be conducted, cunningly hinting that Chidinma's home should be scrutinized. The king, driven by fear of exile and intrigued by Obina's insistence, agreed. At dawn, palace guards, under the strict orders of the king, searched every home. When they reached Chidinma's house, they found the royal items hidden under her bed. The village erupted in shock and disbelief as Chidinma was dragged to the village square, pleading her innocence, tears streaming down her face. Despite her cries and the lack of a proper trial, the king, clouded by his urgency to resolve the matter, ordered her execution. As the noose was placed around Chidinma's neck, she cursed the one who had wronged her, vowing that her spirit would never forgive the village. Her last words echoed through the hearts of the onlookers. "I will never forgive this village for not hearing my plea." With that, Chidinma's life was tragically cut short. Following her death, mysterious calamities befell Akan. Crops failed, animals fell ill, and a strange silence took over the forest. It seemed as though the gods were expressing their fury over the injustice done. Months later, during a particularly scorching afternoon, Obina, tormented by guilt and haunted by Chidinma's words, began running through the village square, screaming, "I will confess, I will confess." The villagers, alarmed and curious, gathered around him. With the entire village as his audience, Obina fell to his knees, tears of remorse soaking the dust beneath him. He confessed to framing Chidinma, detailing how his wounded pride had led him to commit such a heinous act. As the truth hung heavy in the air, the oracle stepped forward. The silence was palpable as he declared, "Before peace returns to this village, the king must step down from the throne, unless..." The crowd waited with bated breath. "Unless a new leader, chosen by the gods and true of heart, is crowned." The revelation made by the oracle shook the very foundations of Akan, yet the king, in his pride and stubbornness, refused to relinquish the throne. He believed that stepping down would be an admission of guilt he was not prepared to acknowledge. As he clung to power, the village suffered from unexplained misfortunes. Crops withered away as though scorched by an unseen sun, and the rivers ran dry as if the earth itself was grieving. Frustrated and desperate, the king confronted the oracle in front of the villagers. He demanded that the oracle retract his statements and declare him the rightful ruler, asserting that his only fault was in passing a judgment, a duty expected of his station. "Reverse your words," he commanded, his voice laced with a thinly veiled threat. Proclaim me as the rightful king, for I have erred only in judgment." The oracle, unshaken and resolute, responded with unwavering integrity. "No, I will never," he declared firmly. "You are not fit to be king. If only you had listened to Chidinma's pleas and investigated further before passing your judgment, she would still be among us. Your failure to seek the truth makes you unworthy of this throne." Despite the king's threats, the oracle continued to remind the villagers of the god's displeasure. He spoke of how the gods mourned for Chidinma and how their anger would bring calamities that no remedy could cure if the king remained in power. The weight of the oracle's words and the relentless misfortunes that plagued the village became too great to ignore. Eventually, the village elders and influential members came together, compelled by the worsening conditions and the unyielding stance of the oracle. They confronted the king, and with the collective voice of the people, they forced him to abdicate the throne. The decision was met with a somber relief, as if a great burden had been lifted from the village's shoulders. Meanwhile, Obinna, whose deceit had set these tragic events into motion, was struck down by a mysterious illness. His health deteriorated rapidly, serving as a harsh reminder of the consequences of his actions. Consumed by guilt and weakened by disease, he was eventually banished from Akan, destined to live out his days in solitude, haunted by the memory of the innocent woman he had wronged. With the king deposed and Obinna banished, the village slowly began to heal. The rivers once again bubbled with life, and the fields grew lush and green. The new leader, chosen by the oracle and affirmed by the gods, led with wisdom and compassion, ensuring that justice and truth prevailed in all matters.